Hi guys, it's Ben from Heirloom Pianos. So today we're going to be doing a CA treatment on this 1950s August Förster Upright. This instrument has been fairly well serviced. As you can see, there's a replacement string that's been added that's a little bit too long by a previous tech. But we're running into a little bit of an issue in that especially the lower tuning pins are extremely loose. So as soon as you let go of the hammer, they're starting to fall back. So the way that we're going to be fixing that today is by something called a CA treatment. And what that entails is tipping the instrument on its back and applying an adhesive to basically consolidate and fill the pin block hole, and that adds the capacity for torque and tension with the tuning pins. I'll show a little diagram, but as discussed previous, traditionally with loose pins, the pin is driven into the tuning plank and it's a friction fit. And over time, the timber of the plank expands and contracts, eventually causing that torque to reduce, and then eventually to the point where the pins become completely loose and can no longer hold pitch. So the plan today is to add an adhesive to the pin block, and what that will do is add mass and basically fill the gap that we have between the tuning pin and the timber. And once that's done, hopefully that will allow the piano to be much more tunable. And there's also one string that needs to be replaced from previous visit. Alright, so in the process of tipping the piano, all we do is, as you can see, this has been lowered. This instrument doesn't have any casters, so we've had to actually lift it up to get the lip of the tipper underneath. And then we have ratchet strapped this to the back post, just to make sure that there's no issues with the piano potentially falling off the tipper. Now, and obviously you can see here, I have put a carpet or a blanket down just to prevent any sort of dust or damage to the customer's carpet. Now we practically just begin to tip the piano. Eventually the wheels will take some of that weight, and then very, very shortly after this, the inertia of the piano will begin to do the rest of the work. And at no point are we actually doing any sort of dangerous tipping. As you can see here, this is just resting as it will. And then eventually we'll have to do a little bit of tipping here. And let me just pull this back so I can get rid of the couch. Okay, now that the couch is out of the way, all we do is simply lift the piano like this. And we have an upright piano, if you don't mind the pun. Alright, so the piano is now fully, I was going to say vertical, but the term that probably is correct is horizontal. That gives us a nice access to the pins, and obviously when we drip in the CA, that will flow through quite easily. Alright, so what we've just done now before we start with the gluing is actually drill a small hole in the pin bushing. So not in the actual tuning plank itself, but in the actual pin bushing. The reason for this is just to allow for additional CA to soak into the tuning pin block. And that should, like I say, help in terms of just getting a little bit more juice into there and helping sealing any holes or potential gaps. The other thing, there's two things I'd say. One is if you're going to drill holes, you're invariably going to run through a couple of drill bits, especially if you're someone silly like me and you decide to use an impact driver. And also the other thing is there's a very small potential chance that there may be some leakage associated with the CA glue. So like I say, I always make sure that there is at least the pin field covered with some packing, just to make sure that the customer's carpet doesn't get damaged. All right, the other thing I'm going to say is I've brought with me a respirator because CA glue by itself is fairly inert. However, in large quantities, it can be quite an irritant. It's very similar to chopping onions. So we'll do that, dope the pin block, and then come back in maybe half an hour, 2 hours time, and see what it feels like.
There's no one in the place except you and me.
Alright, so we've left this for about an hour and a half. As you can see, most of this is dried, or it's at a very sort of heavy gel form, which should be sufficient enough to basically put the piano back on its back. So we'll do that now and we'll see what the tuning's like. So post CA repair, now the good news is that most of the pins are actually quite nice and tight now. So I think you remember the last, I'll show it before and after, but last time we did this it was not particularly solid, whereas we're actually getting a lot more torque now, which is nice. Tuning pins are extremely loose, so as soon as you let go of the hammer, they're starting to fall back. So, bad news is we've broken a few bass strings, so I'm going to make those later on today. But overall, a pretty successful repair in that we now have an instrument that has a lot more functionality. And in terms of timing, this has only taken the better part of, well, probably an hour plus waiting around, depending upon the humidity levels of the environment that you're doing the repair. You may have to wait longer in between putting the piano back in its back. But overall, in terms of efficiency, this is a very quick and easy repair to an instrument that has loose tuning pins. So thank you for watching, and check out the channel for more videos.